I cheated with my brother's girlfriend and married her 10 years ago. When I was in my mid-20s, my younger brother, Ezra, 19, went away to an out-of-state school. I just finished my own stay at my university, so I went back home to find an apartment close to family. Ezra's girlfriend Melanie, 19, also stayed behind to study at a local college. Her and I would hang out once in a while. I didn't realize at first I was playing with fire by doing this. Melanie and I got closer. We would go to the movies, grab a bite, and we would hang out at family dinners. Ezra couldn't be there, but my dad would extend invites to Melanie, who Ezra dated all throughout high school. They planned to be married after school, so she was family. My dad also remarried, so we were trying to build new bonds with his new wife and her kids, one of which was close in age to Melanie. I guess things began to get messy with my dad's new wife began to comment that I looked better with Melanie. I had a stable job and was ready to start my life and settle down. Melanie was offended at first, but as we grew closer she began to also make similar comments. Ezra would come down for summer or some weekends where they would still sleep together and function like a couple. When he would leave, she would be with me. Things got physical one night after I reacted jealously at her and Ezra snuggling up. It was the turning point that I'd been waiting on. I know now I was wrong and I'm not proud of any of this. My dad and his wife were at odds over our relationship. My dad was actually furious with me and demanded we stop. Melanie was disinvited from family dinners and my dad reached out to my mom to inform her about us. My dad's wife had an opposite opinion. I have another sibling, 6 in total, all brothers, Aaron, who suspected something was off. Things came to a head when Aaron took Ezra aside during a visit to let him know what he learned from who knows where. Aaron has always had it out for me, or so I believe, a story for another day. But what happened after set my whole life in motion in the direction it's been for the last decade. It's been just over 10 years since Ezra discovered what we had done and set the whole family on fire. He had a go at our parents and my dad's wife for her involvement and their silence, and then he just left. It took a while, maybe a few months, 8, but he left and I have yet to ever see him again. Those 8 months I was not a kind person. After Melanie was embarrassed and mistreated by Ezra for cheating, I immediately took her in and we became official. Our family disapproved for a while, but eventually they came around. She fell pregnant and I proposed. Her parents and my parents learned of this and agreed that it was best for the baby that we married, so they paid for everything. It was a humble wedding, but my family pulled through for me and showed up. During this time, Aaron continued to lecture my parents about their involvement with our relationship and abandonment of Ezra. I understand that he was in pain and needed them. I did too. I was becoming a new father and husband. I was looking into buying my first home, starting my first big job, and planning a wedding. I didn't expect Ezra to suck it up, but they are my parents too. My parents were preoccupied with us, so much so that Ezra moved a few towns over and we didn't notice until a month or so. We used to see him around town where he worked, but noticed we stopped seeing him. I reached out only to find his number was changed. Aaron was no help. Just criticisms and warnings about Ezra's well-being. No kind words for me, Melanie, or our child though. I lost 2 brothers in actuality. Eventually our wedding grew closer and the invitations were sent out. No response from Ezra and Aaron, which I expected, so I asked my mom to verify with them. I understood if the answer was no. What we found was they were completely gone. Aaron had a long-time girlfriend who RSVP no to our wedding and clammed up about where my brothers went off to. One aunt, the one who would often echo Aaron's comments and skipped out on my wedding, let us know that they were safe and that we needed to move on. So that was that. Sad to say I haven't seen them in 10 years. My parents were obviously distraught and regretful. It put a huge damper on our wedding and the birth of my child. We thought about combining their names as a middle name for my son, but ultimately decided no. They would likely never meet my kid, so no need to confuse him. However, watching my parents break down whenever family would get together took its toll. Anyone who knew where they were did not say. It remains a gray cloud over our lives to this day. I thought we had moved on by the time Mel and I had another kid. My parents seemed happy to be with me and my remaining brothers, and they saw that Mel and I were serious about our relationship, an ideal match. Soon enough though my mom decided to voice her regrets to me and Melanie personally. When she first found out about our relationship she was staunchly against us but came around when Mel fell pregnant. Now she says that she made a mistake where she lost 2 sons. Her relationship with Mel has suffered greatly. My dad's family is much more welcoming to Mel, she's one of their own. My dad does miss his sons but also loves his grandkids. He was content with this for a long time until my mom went ahead and located Aaron and Ezra. It hurt to feel that she would prefer to have held on to them and lose me and my sons in the process. She found that they were both married. Aaron to his longtime girlfriend who eventually moved away years ago, and Ezra to an unknown woman. Both have a good amount of children. More than I have in fact. My mother got some therapy and reached out to my brothers and has made contact with Ezra. Aaron declined to reconcile. So she's been in contact with him for a year, even going as far as taking my youngest brothers with her to spend Christmas with Ezra and his family. I've seen pictures of his sons and daughters and his wife too. I thought to keep a lot of this from my dad but I come from a gossipy family, so I did show him what I found on my mom's Facebook before they could. My dad was overcome again, as if the wound was freshly exposed again. He felt he missed a lot and couldn't bear it. He looked at the images for a long time and eventually called my mom and they spoke for hours. So I sit here with fractured relationships everywhere. My mom does not approve of me and my family. Mel and my mom do not speak. My dad is heartbroken. Ezra and Aaron took off and built a life with their own families. From pictures it seems they are still close, and though Aaron does not speak to our mother, his wife and kids do. The rest of my siblings are young men, just coming into their own. I love them so much but I can't relate to them like I relate to my brothers who are closer in age. It's been years since I've had to deal with what my actions have caused. My wife is beginning to get insecure about my feelings towards her. She wonders if I regret her and the kids. I want to fix this. I failed to fix it before but I need to now. I don't know how to repair it though. How can I make amends for a marriage and life I don't regret? TLDR. I cheated with and married my brother's girlfriend. My 2 brothers rebelled and became estranged after we announced our engagement. It's been 10 years and my parents were still hurt that they cut off the whole family. My mom has made contact with one brother and my dad is now aware of how much he's missed out on. I would like to fix this. I, 27 female, cheated on my best friend's, 28 female, twin brother, 28 male, who is my fiancé/partner of 6 years. What should I do? Our relationship was perfect. We got engaged last year, set a date for October. Eric is to be my husband. Aaron will be my maid of honor. I met Aaron when I was 20 and we became best friends despite vastly different personalities. I was a somewhat promiscuous sorority girl studying economics. She was an asexual introvert studying mathematics and computer science. Somehow we became fantastic friends. Despite Aaron being very good looking, she has not had a boyfriend since she was 21 and is asexual, which always made our dynamic interesting. The flirty hyperactive one and the reserved collected one. Later I met Eric. He was handsome, funny, and sweet. Just a really great guy. Everyone liked him. They were best friends their entire lives and initially it surprised me how close they were, despite having gone to different colleges, studying different things. My own sibling relationship with my sister wasn't good so it was weird to see my best friend have another best friend that she loved way more than she did me. Eric and I developed feelings for each other, began dating and fast forward a few years later we're engaged. I still remember the one thing Aaron said at the beginning of our relationship. If you all break up for some normal reason it's cool, but if you ever hurt my brother in some messed way, I'm done with you. It surprised me a lot but it was understandable. Twins, best friends, all that. I love both these people with all my heart. Truly, outside of my parents they are the 2 dearest most loved people in my life. Fast forward some more. I am ashamed to admit I have been something of a bee to Eric in recent months. Preparing for the wedding and all of that has me extremely moody. There's this guy I work with. He's a good-looking man, though Eric is better. There was something about this guy, Adrian, and his cool relaxed flirty demeanor. Pretty much all the girls had crushes on him. I had a small thing for him, anyway, I resolved not to have anything to do with him. However, Since March we've had to work on several projects together at work which put us in close proximity. We wound up sleeping together 3 times before I called it quits. He understands but let me know I could have him anytime I wanted. The sex was not better than Eric or anything. It was just different. I've been tearing myself apart with guilt the past month. If I tell Eric, not only do I lose the man of my dreams, a wonderful guy I know for a fact many women think is a serious catch, but also my best friend of almost 8 years. I'm scared. I don't want to lose my fiancé or my best friend. I know I messed up big time. I was such an idiot. What should I do? Do I keep this to myself and hope the guilt eventually passes, or do I own up to it even if it means losing the 2 people I love most? TLDR. Cheated on my fiancé of a year, boyfriend of 6 years. Scared to tell him as I'm going to lose the man of my dreams, Eric, and my best friend as well, Aaron. My fiancé and the mother of our child cheated with my brother. Her and I have been together 12 years. 5 years ago, I had set up a family gathering for my daughter, 8 months old, to be baptized and had made my older brother the godfather of my daughter. Immediately after the baptism, my whole family, about 50 people, met at my house for a baptism party. A few hours into the event and I realized my woman was nowhere to be found. I started to look everywhere for her, realizing my brother was also missing from the party. I ran to the driveway loaded with cars and saw them between 2 open car doors nose to nose. I immediately approached them realizing my brother's penis was fully erect and my fiancée had just pulled up her top. I yelled, "Tell me what the F is going on here." They looked terrified as she spoke up and said with a grin, "We're drunk." As my brother fumbled with his erection I wanted to attack them both right there. Instead, I went into the house, got my keys, and left in a rage of pain and emotion. I called them immediately and demanded answers. They said nothing had happened and I'm just going crazy over nothing. He just so happened to be erect as they isolated themselves away from the party. I moved out for a month visiting my baby girl every day, and had my ex begging me to come home and swore to God nothing had happened. My brother also was telling me, "No brother, I would never do that to you. Never." After months and months of begging for the truth and sobbing for closure from the both of them, I still was told nothing happened. She wanted to make it work, so we set up a counseling appointment with my pastor, who I've known since I was a child, and that had baptized my daughter that very day they decided to cheat. He has known my brother and I closely since we were in first grade. At the therapy session she had put her hand on the Bible and swore that nothing had happened. I moved back home after the torture of being away from my beautiful baby girl, and periodically begged for the truth, causing arguments as she felt I did not have the right to accuse her. Over and over. Year after year. We then had a second daughter and I asked her to marry me, again, in front of her entire family on Christmas Day 2017. One night 3 weeks ago, it dawned on me to tell her I already knew what happened and that my brother had come clean. Now I asked for her side of the story. She started off by telling me, "Your brother came up behind me as I leaned into the car and stuffed his fingers inside of me. As he did this I turned around and started kissing him, rubbing his penis through his pants. Then he took out my breasts and played with them, and then we saw you coming and immediately separated." Devastated, I then decided to ask my brother for his side of the story, so the very next morning I asked him what had happened and he gave me a very similar story. But when I asked him if he had sex with my wife that night, all he repeated was, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." When I told my fiancée about what my brother had apologized for, she started screaming, telling me to get out. I left and immediately called my brother, letting him know what she had said and her side of the story, and he told me that is not at all what happened. His story was that they were standing there and she was telling him how she has always fantasized about sleeping with him and how bad she wanted him, and then she started kissing him. And that's when he pulled her breast out and put his fingers inside of her as she touched his penis. I went back to my fiancée asking her why she had lied about the way the incident happened, and she continued to deny my brother's story. I have completely lost my mind over this while still leaving here taking care of my baby girls. Looking her in the eyes and knowing that the woman I love has been with my brother, every time she touches me knowing that my brother has been inside of her disgusts and devastates me beyond comprehension. I have wept for 4 weeks now since finding this out and still getting 2 different stories. I also started therapy and have not made much progress in the 2 sessions that I've had so far. I need all the help I can get. I'm falling apart as a man. I have no dignity. I have no trust. I have no family. The only thing that keeps me here is my babies. I've been going through the worst depression of my life, and I've never been depressed one day in my life previous to this. I have not been able to sleep. I do not enjoy the woman that I'm in love with. I can't lay next to her without wanting to crawl out of my skin. Any insight into what my next move should be, or how anyone could possibly help me get through something so horribly devastating, would be so greatly appreciated. I'm falling apart more every day. Sincerely, a loving father of two. I cheated on my significant other with his brother-in-law. About 6 months ago, my boyfriend and I moved in with his cousin, Ashley, and her fiancé, Greg. He is very close to his cousin. They grew up together and is more like his sister. They bought a house together and have 3 kids, and quickly realized how expensive the mortgage is actually going to be, so they asked us to take on the downstairs bedroom and help with the mortgage, and we were happy to do that. I've always gotten along well with Greg, and we never had any issues casually hanging out without other people around. When we moved in, things got weirder. Lots of side-eye glances, smiles, he was flirting with me. Until one day we hooked up in the kitchen while everyone was at work, and the kids were asleep upstairs. He admitted that Ashley is pregnant and hasn't been willing to have sex with him. I want to tell my boyfriend, but Greg is worried that everything will fall apart. He won't be able to see his kids, they will lose their house. So I haven't said anything, and it's eating away at me. I know it's horrible and wrong. I love my boyfriend, but I am thinking I might just break up with him and not tell him anything about it. I couldn't bear to break up their family even though what we did was wrong. I cheated on my husband with his brother and still have dreams about the brother. It was 1 year ago. We made out in my car and we did some stuff. There was no intercourse. We decided we wouldn't pursue it. It was impossible as he's my husband's brother. I still dream about him occasionally. We hug and hold hands in those dreams. I couldn't feel more protected and safe as I do in those dreams. I've never been in love with my husband, but I have been in love with his brother. I'm 4 months pregnant with my husband's baby. I occasionally see his brother and we do small talk. It's like things never happened. Seeing him is always confirming the slow burn. I think he still likes me, too. Sometimes we meet people and our love for them will not die. Sadly, I don't get to spend my life with him. I regret nothing.